All glory to him who loved us and freed us by shedding his blood for us. And all glory to him whom the grave could not hold, but who rose again on the third day, conquering death, redeeming sin, and giving life to those who were once dead, but now can be alive forever and ever and ever. Let's sing See What a Morning. See what a morning, gloriously bright, with the dawning of hope in Jerusalem. Folded the grave clothes, tomb filled with light, as the angels announced Christ is risen. See God's salvation plan, God's love born and paid in sacrifice. Fulfilled in Christ the man, for he lives, Christ is risen from the dead. See Mary weeping, where is he laid? As in sorrow she turns from the empty tomb. Hears a voice speaking, calling her name. It's the Master, the Lord, gives her life again. The voice that spells the years, speaking life, stirring hope, bringing peace to us. Will sound till he appears, for he lives, Christ is risen from the dead. One with the Father, Ancient of Days, through the Spirit of glows, faith with certainty. Honor and blessing, glory and praise to the King, crowned with power and authority. And we are raised with him. Death is dead, love is won, Christ is conquered. And we shall reign with him, for he lives, Christ is risen from the dead. And we are reign with him. Death is dead, love is won, Christ is conquered. And we shall reign with him, for he lives, Christ is risen from the dead.
Good afternoon to you, and as always, welcome to our Wednesday relaunch. We call it ReLaunch. It's an opportunity in the middle of the week to start all over again. A lot of us need the opportunity to do that because we often go right off the rails, mess things up, and the whole message of the Bible really is about the opportunity that we're given in and through God's own good gift to us of his son Jesus, a chance to start all over again. And that's always good news. So welcome to you to our Wednesday relaunch here today. And those of you joining us online, a warm welcome to you as well. Lovely to have you behind that camera there, wherever you are and whatever your circumstances as well. I thought for the next few weeks we'll just stick with the story of someone who has to learn how to cope with all the ups and downs of life. And so that's really the theme that we're going to be following through, just the coping with the ups and downs of life. And it's the story of Hannah, a lady in the Bible called Hannah. And in the kind of opening chapter of this book that's called 1 Samuel, Samuel actually ended up being a son without spoiling the story for you, but it's called 1 Samuel. And the first chapter really runs through a catalogue of different things that this lady has to cope with. And that's always, for all of us, one of the challenges that we have in life, just coping with a whole variety of different things when circumstances don't go our way. And there are all sorts of issues that we have to cope with. And today we're going to be thinking about the kind of first of these issues that comes up for her is what I've called rivalry. She's having to cope with a rival. Now, I suppose the problem that we have often is that of envy. We kind of look around at other people and we see their circumstances, what they have, what they're enjoying, and we compare that with our own. And we always end up being, in the kind of poorer quarter of that scenario, that we look and see someone who's got better health than we've got, someone who's got better, I don't know what that's coming there. There we go. Someone has got more money than we've got, someone who's got a better house than we've got, someone has got a better job than we've got. And sometimes we're left to wonder how come, and we become envious. We kind of struggle with that, and that really is the first part of the story of this lady Hannah. She had a rival, and when we read in the first couple of verses, which is what we're going to read today, you'll see what the problem was. This is from the first book of Samuel, and reading from verse 1. And there was a certain man from a place called Ramathaim. He was a Zuphite, and he was from the hill country of Ephraim. You don't have to worry too much about the geography of this. It's kind of in the middle of the land of Israel. And his name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Ephraimite. That's why he was called a Zuphite. He had two wives. This is the problem. He had two wives. One was called Hannah and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. And you've got a recipe there for disaster for her. That's the kind of starting point of her story. She has a rival. Hannah's an interesting lady in the Bible, not just because her name is one of those rare names that you can spell back to front and it still comes out the same name. Not a lot of names are like that. But it is, in some ways, in this situation where she's envious. I guess most of us have been envious of other people. Sometimes it's because of health. We wish that we had better health. We wonder, why has this happened to me? Sometimes we look around and we see someone who's got a better job or has a job or has more money. Their circumstances are better, and we think, why am I not like them? And why has this happened to me? And that really was Hannah's circumstance. She was in this situation. This guy Elkanah has two wives. That's complicated before you get anywhere. And one wife, Peninnah, has children, and the other wife, who really wants children, doesn't have children. And the one wife kind of aggravates the other in that sort of manner. How do you handle that? How do you cope with that? And part of the reason for the story of Hannah being there in the Bible is to help us to learn through her experience, how to cope with the ups and quite often to cope with the downs of life as well. And this is a downer when you've got a rival, someone who is just making life really hard for you one way or another. I'm kind of looking around here, and I'm aware that, that's your situation. For some of you, you have someone, whether you call the person a rival or not, but someone who just kind of makes life hard for you. Maybe deliberately, maybe accidentally, but it just happens. And when that happens, how do you cope with that? That's really the challenge of this particular narrative. How do you cope when that happens? And the one thing that Hannah has that the other wife, Peninnah, doesn't have is her name. That's her strong point, her name, because her name, given to her before she had any idea about life at all, it was given to her when she was born, and it means simply grace. And that's the one thing that she's able to cling on to. It's almost like it's been written into her being from the start of her life, as if her parents, not knowing what was going to happen to her, not knowing what she was going to have to cope with, perhaps in God's kindness gave her this name so that she would remember always that whatever situation she was in, whatever problem she was facing, there is something to fall back on, and that is called the grace of God. Grace simply means that God deals with us not the way we deserve at all. He gives to us, helps us, not because we deserve it, not because we've earned it, but because he is pleased to do that, because he cares for us, and because he needs and is pleased to help us according to our need. And that's what she's going to have to fall back on, the fact that there's a God who is full of grace. And that's the way she's going to cope with this rivalry. That's the way she's going to cope with the fact that this other wife of her husband is very much a rival, seems to do better than she does. How does she handle that? She's going to fall back on the grace of God, a God who cares about her, a God who loves her, and a God who will be pleased to help her. And in some ways, that's really the single main thrust that runs the whole way through the Bible, to drum it into our heads, no matter what our circumstances are, no matter what our background is as well. There is a God, and this God has come to be with us. And way up there in that window at the front of the church there, those are the three words that are inscribed on that window, right at the heart of it, so that as you leave this building and you look up, then you are reminded that whatever is going to happen to you, there is a God who has come in Jesus to be with you. And to help you face whatever you have to face, and to resolve whatever problem that you're having to resolve, to help you handle whatever person you're going to have to handle. And that's the confidence you have. You're not doing it alone. You have a God who goes with you, and a God who will be there for you, and a God who is able to help you. And that's the encouragement right from the start of the book of 1 Samuel, as we're introduced to the story of Hannah. How do you cope with a rival like that? You cope with it by falling back on the grace of God, that simple truth, God with us. And there is, in some ways, no better summary of the whole Bible itself, all the 66 books of the Bible that make a huge big Bible. They can be summarized in those three words, God with us. And that's encapsulated in the person Jesus. In him, that's the reality. And you enter life and you launch out again into life having him. And he's able to sort out whatever the problems are, and is pleased to do so in his grace. And that's what we simply always want to underline to you. Look to him, turn to him, look up, and remind yourself that God has come in Jesus to be with us, to be with you, whatever your circumstances. Let me pray. Lord, thank you that you have come, you have seen our need. Thank you that you were aware of all the difficulties that this lady Hannah had from earliest days. And that you did indeed come to help her in a wonderful way. Help us when we're struggling with circumstances where we can't really see the end of the tunnel at all. Help us to know that you'll lead us through that dark patch in our lives, and you'll bring us safely through to a better place. And whatever the problems may be that folk here are facing today, we'd ask, please, that you would help them, that you'd enable them to recognize that you've come in Jesus to be with them, and that you will indeed undertake for them. Thank you for all your goodness to us. Thank you for the food that we've enjoyed, for the company that we share, and above all, thank you for your love, your care, and your grace. And we ask it all for your own name's sake. Amen. Good, enjoy your lunch and enjoy the rest of the time here as well. You're welcome to stay as long as you like. And we're glad just to be able to share with you at this time. Good.